Hi guys, welcome back to StarrSoap's channel. How are you today? I'm doing good. If you didn't know who I am, my name is Crystal Starr and I'm the Queen Soapy here at StarrSoaps. I make all the products, I make all the videos, I edit them, I upload them, I do it all. I wrap all the products, I come up with all the concepts. That's right, it's all on me. Crystal Starr, your Queen Soaper. So hi, nice to meet you. Today I'm going to be having a go at making Proto Putty. That's right. I saw a video, it was shared around on Facebook. A guy was making a substance using silicone cork and some floury stuff, corn flour, rice flour, powdery sort of cornstarch stuff, right? Mixing them all up together until he had sort of a Play-Doh consistency, and then he was moulding things. And he called this product Proto Putty. Whew, that's a mouthful. So I thought I'd give it a go because I have some crazy cool things to mould. My husband used to have access to a 3D printer. He no longer does, unfortunately, but when he did, he made me some really groovy blanks that I could go ahead and use to make moulds with. So I'm going to have a go at making some Proto Putty and see if I can finally mould these awesome blanks that Big B made for me. Thanks, Big B. You're the best. Okay, so if you're interested in seeing how I make Proto Putty and my little process I go through with it, then do stay tuned. I will say that I think the final product works best if you can clear coat it with something, which is what I did, and I don't think that the product ever gets not sticky. So you'll see what I mean. Stay tuned. If you haven't seen my other video making moulds, then I'll leave the link below. It was a really interesting experience. It was a few years back now, and it was using gelatin and glycerin, so quite a different kind of mould making than you would often see other soap makers do. At the end of the day, guys, if you want to make yourself some really awesome moulds, I do think that if you can afford it, you should invest in a proper two-part mould making substance, a silicone mould making substance. They aren't cheap, but they work really well. But anyway, I want to experiment for you guys, because hey, how else are we going to learn? So come along with me and let's have a go at making some moulds. Squee! So for this project, you're going to need a few things. You're going to want some things to mould. I've got some blanks my hubby made for me from a 3D printer, and I've also got this horse head. You're also going to want gloves. Now, if you pay close attention, you'll see that I failed to wear them, and I can tell you now that was a bad idea. Partly I failed to wear the gloves because my corking gun didn't work and I couldn't get the silicone out that easily, so that's how come I ended up all messy and mucky. But I'm telling you now, you do not want to get this stuff on your hands. It is so sticky, it doesn't even wash off with the best StarrSoaps, guys. I know, right? So, gloves, people. So the first thing that has gone into the ice cream container is a big, generous dollop of food colouring. Now I'm trying to get some of my silicone corking into my container. And you need 100% silicone, guys. So make sure you look on the tube. Make sure it says 100% silicone. So I'm going to go ahead and really thoroughly mix my silicone into my food colouring. And as you can see, I've chosen the colour blue. I actually think that it starts to look really neat at this stage. And in the original video I saw where the guy was making it, he even tried moulding some substance with just this and no corn flour mixed in. And it did seem to work, but it was much more difficult to work with because it was so sticky. So I'm going to go ahead now and add as much of this silicone cork stuff as I can, and I'm squeezing it out using a spoon that I've pushed down into the tube because my corking gun didn't work, so I ended up giving up on it and throwing it in the rubbish bin and buying a new one. So mix again, and you really do sort of need to work kind of fast here because it will start to sort of try to set up if you don't, but if you keep it moving it stays semi-fluid. So I'm really just thoroughly mixing it. That's why I'm doing that bit off camera. And here I have another ice cream container filled with I'm using a blend of corn flour and regular all-purpose flour. but I actually didn't have enough corn flour to just do 100% corn flour, so I think in the future I'll make sure that I have a big amount of corn flour, because I do think it will work a bit better. But this seemed to work alright, so I'm using a popsicle stick to scrape out the last bits of the silicone and get them into the flour. And now the idea is just to cover it up in the flour, and it'll make it a lot easier to touch it and to work with it because it's coated in that layer of the corn flour and regular flour. Now in the video he says that you are to mix a sort of amount of flour to be determined into your silicone, so it would depend on how big a batch you're making, but he basically says you need to mix it until it's not sticky anymore. And unfortunately mine never, in my opinion, got not sticky, if that makes sense. So I kept on mixing and it stayed sticky, and I added more flour and it stayed sticky. As you can see here, I was mixing. I had sped this up for you guys times about 4, and then times about 6, and then 12, and then 16, because it is seriously a long process, and I got a really good upper body workout from this. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think you need to try to get it not sticky any longer. So I didn't add too much flour because my final product did set up and work, but I don't think I needed to add this much. And it would have been a quicker process. It wouldn't have taken me so long. It would have been less stressful. So I'm kind of feeling like, don't try to knead it until it's tacky. Just try to knead it until you see that colour change happen. So you'll see right here that my Proto Putty, it looks more of like an opaque blue, whereas when I began it was definitely more like a clear blue. So as soon as you see that colour change happen and you feel like you've got kind of a Play-Doh consistency on your hands, then go ahead and start moulding with it. Don't keep trying to work in more and more and more flour like I did. This was my first time ever making this stuff, and I think the best way we can learn is to get hands-on. Like personally, I have to try something for myself and try it a few times before I can suss it out, and it takes even more times of trying it after that before I can say I've perfected it. So none of the stuff just happens overnight. It takes work, and you have to keep on trying. So I kind of work basically every last little bit of flour that you can see here into my dough, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's very large. It's like a big amount when I'm done. And I do think that I would do this, I might do this again, but I would probably use 100% corn flour, and I would probably mix, I don't know, let's say a cup. I'd mix about a cup in. Instead here I've tried to mix about 4 cups in. You get where I'm going. So once you're happy with the consistency that you have of your dough, or Proto Putty, or whatever you want to call it, you can literally just start moulding it around something. It's that easy. I'm using these 2 little blanks I told you about at the beginning of the video. They're made out of plastic stuff from a 3D printer that my husband used to have access to. So they're both Buddha themed, and they're moulds that I had found, but I didn't want to pay the very expensive price for them. So I had shown them to Bryden, and he was like, hey, I can make that. So he's made me the blank, and I'm going to go ahead and mould it so I can make the soap in that shape. And I'm quite excited about this larger one because I've had it for quite a while and I've wanted to do something with it, and I keep looking at it. I had it on display in my soap room because it's so pretty, and I just keep looking at it and I just keep thinking I've got to do something with this. So I end up with not enough Proto Putty or mould dough or whatever you want to call it, I don't have enough to do the horse head as well. So I decide to just save back a little bit, and I'll use that in a second on a smaller object. And I'm just trying to sort of roughly shape my dough into a rectangle, which is the shape of my blank, and then shape it up and sort of and work it up around it. So I found this quite difficult to do. As you can see with the first one, it turned out really well. But with the second one, there are sides of it that are very thick and sides of it that are quite a bit thinner. And I don't really think that's good. I wanted it to be nice and even all the way around. With my final product, my final mould that has completely set and dried, I used it once, and when I was getting the soap out, it wanted to stick a little bit in places in the mould. So I've taken it and sprayed it all with clear coat, which I think has sort of locked up all those open pores that were in the dough, in the mould itself, so that when the soap goes in, hopefully it will come out just nice and smooth, and the clear coat won't come off on the soap. It is well and truly incorporated into this mould because of the sort of porous nature of the mould. I don't know if that makes any sense. It might just be a silly waffle to you, but those of you that think sort of a bit more scientifically than me, you probably understand what's going on a lot better than I do. I've never worked with silicone caulking, not even in a capacity around the home, so this was a brand new experience for me. And so I have this last little bit of Proto Putty here that I decided to work around one of my very small Buddha molds, just sticking with the Buddha theme. And although I really love this, it seems like it seems so cool. I'm like, this is so easy, this is so great. The final soap didn't want to come out of that mold, and I actually had to cut it, and I had to cut the whole thing in half or tear it, so it wasn't usable again, as you know, for a second time. So that's kind of a shame. But I got one soap, and I do think that these little Buddhas, which I have tried to mold several times, I will say that as well, haven't worked out for me. So you've got these molds here now, and I've removed the blanks, and I love how detailed they are, and I just couldn't wait. I just couldn't help myself. I made soap, and I had to get some soap into these molds right away and test them as soon as they had gone completely hard. So they sat for overnight, for probably 12 to possibly even 18 hours before I actually came back and tried to put any soap in them. So I will mention that as well. And I do think putting a clear coat on them was a really good idea. So, you know, hindsight and all that. This is my banana soap, and if you want to see that video, I will leave a link below to the banana soap making video. This soap smells and looks so good and so yum yum. So I'm just giving it a little bit of a swirl, and I think it's going to just be a very nice extra bar of soap for me. Well, I do hope you guys had fun watching me try to make this Proto Putty. Over the years of soap making, I have seen many different soap makers try many different molds, from this caulking stuff mixed with dishwashing liquid to all the way up to my gelatin and glycerin. At the end of the day, if you really want to make a sturdy, solid soap mold, that was a tongue twister, a sturdy solid soap mold, I do recommend that you buy the right stuff. Buy that proper silicone mixing stuff, the 2-part mold making stuff. But hey, this was fun, and it didn't cost me much, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below, become a member of our StarrSoaps family, and don't forget to feel the soapy love. Alright, bye guys.